Hello, everybody. This is Lynn Oliver, and I would like to welcome you to our second annual Children's Book Changemakers Conference. I'd like to introduce you to our sign language interpreter, who is Vana Malinado. She's there. She will be with us, and also substituting for her will be Jenny Kamen, so that will continue throughout the entire program. So I am the co-founder of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. I co-founded it with Stephen Musser 53 years ago when I was just an embryo, actually. And the other founding members included Jane Yolen, Sue Alexander, Tommy DePaula, Judy Bloom, and working together as a group over this past 53 years, the SCBWI has gone from 4 members, which was Steve Musser, myself, my mother, and his father, to over 22,000 members, and is a global force in the children's book community. So several years ago, when I retired as executive director, I began working to found a division of SCBWI called the Impact and Legacy Fund, and that is the sponsor of today's program. The Impact and Legacy Fund has a steering committee of 16 amazing volunteers. And our mission, we are the charitable and social justice arm of the SCBWI. Our mission is to help make change in the world through children's books and to enable creators of children's books, writers, illustrators, publishers, to express themselves and create the change that they are passionate about. So tonight's program is going to feature some of the work that we have been doing over the past 2 years. And we hope that it will inspire you to see what people are doing in our field and also inspire you to do your own work. Our motto at the ILF is each of us can create some kind of incremental change in the areas that we are most passionate about. So we hope that you are inspired by this program and entertained. So many years ago, when I was a student teacher, I was told by my education professors that you should always tell the classroom what they're about to learn before you start teaching it. So, by the way, I was a tremendous failure as a student teacher. I lasted about a month because I announced to my students on the opening day that if they didn't really want to be there to learn, they didn't have to stay. And 40 high school seniors got up immediately and walked out into the hall and stampeded down to the cafeteria. The principal came running out and said, "What in heaven's name have you done here?" So I hope all of you, I'm going to tell you what you're about to see, and I hope all of you will remain seated. So tonight we're going to feature people who are doing great work through children's books to make change. And that includes an interview with Goldie Hawn, an interview with Barbara Kingsolver and her daughter Lily about their children's book, a conversation with Lois Lowry talking to students who are working to fight censorship and promote freedom to read, a new poem debuted by Hope Anita Smith. You're going to meet our 2023 award winners and see them accept their awards. And then you'll get to meet our first speaker, whom you'll meet in a minute. So first, now, let me invite you to pull up a chair. I'm here at my dining room table, place where I've been many times with many of you. Oh, speaking of many of you, there are 1,800 people in the audience. So my table doesn't hold that many. It holds 12. So we're going to be doing, we're in Zoom land now. So at my actual table, there's just me. And at our Zoom table, there are 1,800 of you, and which is actually a good thing, because if you were at my table, I would have to be doing dishes from now until the end of 2023. So we want you to feel like you're in community with everyone. We want you to feel free to use the chat, which is open. Let me remind you that in the chat, we have posted guidelines, which we all need to adhere by, and to try and keep your conversation positive and in the spirit of community. And of course, no hate speech or harassment is ever tolerated on any chat, especially ours. And we will be together for about 90 minutes of the program. So I hope that gives you a great introduction with what we're about to do. And I hope you find it inspiring and thrilling and relevant to everything that you are concerned and passionate about. So enough of me. I'm going to bring on our first speaker. Now, our first speaker was supposed to be Datavian Daniels, who is a youth advocacy activist. He had a last-minute emergency, and so he is being replaced by another youth activist, a leader in his field. He is Cameron. There he is. His name is Cameron Samuels. And we first met him as a high school student where he was an activist. Now he is a student at Brandeis College. He has been part of the Kids' Right to Read program and been very active in that. He introduced legislation in Texas to eliminate the filtering of LGBTQ books in schools. He is the co-founder of SEAT, which stands for Students Engaged in Advancing Texas. He has spoken in front of the Senate. He is a picture of hope and what we hope the future of our country will be, led by leaders such as Cameron. So Cameron, thank you for being here. And I'm gonna turn this over to you and let you begin. So I want to welcome you on behalf of everyone. I realized just now that I didn't use the correct pronoun, so my apologies. Cameron is, they are most welcome here. And I can hardly wait to hear what you have to say and to inspire us all. So with that, Cameron, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take the full screen. We'll be back, everyone.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Lynn, for the introduction and the correction of pronouns. I hope I can fill in for Datavian in his great footsteps. Datavian is such a fearless leader. So sad that an emergency came up for him. But I am here in this great presence of this family with all of you for the freedom to read. And I hope to convey how students are engaging in educational policymaking on these front lines. I mean, I don't have to tell this crowd that we are facing unprecedented challenges to the freedom to read. And in this moment in time, students are often left out of the conversations that happen about us, but without us at the table. Decisions are being made at school board meetings and in state legislatures to Congress, where politicians are weaponizing education to score political points for their own gain. They are forgetting about student well-being and academic excellence, while students are struggling with budget cuts to school finance, to just not finding ourselves represented in our curriculum to begin with. And we are facing a students' rights crisis because of this. But you know what? Students deserve a seat at the table in decisions affecting our education and our futures. It's that simple. I co-founded Students Engaged in Advancing Texas. It's a mouthful. We just call it SEAT because we deserve that seat at the table. That's the message we wanted to bring to traditionally adult-dominated spaces in policymaking, especially here in Texas, where we are facing unprecedented challenges in this large state where each community is so uniquely different, but we are seeing similar trends and we're able to learn from that, and especially on the national stage as well. When I founded SEAT, I had no clue what a transformative impact we would make in just a year and a half. We started way before that, though. A year and a half is this formal movement, but way before, as a senior in high school, I was alone as a student standing up for my rights in Katy, Texas. I graduated a couple years ago, but during this time, it wasn't a norm for students to be involved in the policymaking. It wasn't a norm for us to spend our Monday night when I could have been doing homework, hanging out with my family, or honestly doing college applications, as many of my peers were doing. I did not spend my Monday night sometimes doing that because I was at board meetings. school board meetings where they were deciding my rights. I felt like it was very important for me to stand up because I didn't see anyone else that was a student like me really showing up, sharing our voice, what mattered to us. And that needed to change. Well, everyone else at these board meetings were picking fights with Black authors, canceling an author visiting Katie, with LGBTQ representation in our literature. Book bans that are taking place right now at record pace are not just about inappropriate content. That's not what they are about. This is merely another way for people to target our identities, our core humanity, and strip us away from compassion. That's what I felt was the legacy that needed to be made in my district, a legacy of compassion for a school district whose motto was "Be the Legacy." And I feel like that needs to happen across the nation. I realized that this wasn't just happening locally in my community, but throughout the state, throughout the nation. And it has picked up so much in the past couple years, where we were one of these first student-led efforts. I was the only student at that board meeting, but then came to bring together my peers. And we distributed hundreds of banned books. We published op-eds in the press. We introduced state legislation. We filed legal action with the ACLU to dismantle a discriminatory internet filter because censorship is happening in so many more places than just school libraries right now. We brought together students to defy the norms, and now we created that norm for students to engage at school board meetings, and not just in our school district of Katy, Texas, but throughout the state with the leadership of so many student organizers in seat, and learning from and uplifting the efforts of other student-led movements throughout the nation. So proud of all these students in this peer mentor network for the impact that we have driven, and just could not be more proud of that. We rely on these intergenerational partnerships, platforms like this here today, and just so appreciate building these relationships with y'all so we can stand up to these censorship attacks on our education and shape the future, bring power to students to have the agency in creating, not inheriting, the future that we will live in. Thank you so much, everyone.
Our next presenter will be an enormous treat for you. She actually needs no introduction, like the saying goes, because you all know her and love her as an actor, as a beloved icon in American entertainment. She is Academy Award-winning actor and has been on the scene in our hearts, in our lives for these many years. What you don't know about her, Miss Goldie Hawn, is that she is also a social activist and has a very long-term and serious commitment to helping children. So Goldie, first I want to thank you for being here with us today.
What a pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's so great. And thank you for all that you have done to entertain us and keep us joyful, and also all you've done for our kids. So for those people in the audience who only know you as the adorable and beloved Goldie Hawn, I know another side of you. So let's talk about that a bit. You have been committed to children and to a particular aspect of children's health for quite a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your commitment to kids' mental health and how it began and what you're doing?
Yes, well, this is, I actually asked myself the same question because I've always been attracted and I've always loved children since I'm little, myself. And I was 16, 17, I decided to open my own dancing school so I could teach little girls and boys how to dance. Now, I was a dancer. I was a dancer since I'm 3 years old. So I took that and used that to create an excitement, of fun, joy for children. And then after I had my own dancing school, which by the way, I was 17, I think. I advertised in my dad's store, right? I took pictures with me with little children and it was great. And then actually I worked for the government in Washington, D.C., where I went and I taught children all over the city in what do you call rec centers, you know? Well, you know, Lynn, I can't tell you how happy that made me. It was one of those things that the joy, the love, the purity of these children really, really not only got me, but it stayed with me.
Mhm.
So when I went to be a professional dancer, which I was, I went to New York. I wanted to professionally dance in the theater and so forth. But my plan was, my life plan was basically to dance on Broadway, maybe on television, you know, but really I was going to go home, get married, open a dancing school, and have my own children and live happily ever after. And that's what my dream, my plan was. So children never left my psyche. They never left my heart. They never left what made me joyful.
Mhm.
So that was the beginning. And, you know, I thought about it because I wondered, I've been asked this before, but in going back to understand a little bit more about me, that's when it happened. Then. So then, whatever, suddenly I became a big success and a thing. And all this stuff that I was doing, which was great in acting and bringing and producing and writing and so forth. But my dream was smashed because, you know, however, when I started doing a documentary in search of joy, because I just felt that we as humans were missing the aspect of life that we really need to enjoy with others and understand that feeling of joy. I asked God to use me. I want whatever I had, whatever gift I was given, that was and is my prayer. Just use me. Use me for the greater good, whatever it is. So what I decided to do is that I decided to take everything I learned about happiness, all of the things in regard to brain neuroscience and how it connects to these emotions, and literally looked at also studying myself a little bit more about neurology, neurobiology. And I then put it together and it became Mind Up.
So Mind Up is a program that you, along with a team of experts and neuroscientists, have put together for kids to improve their mental health. Is that a fair statement?
Right.
All right. So describe a little bit what you would hope would come from Mind Up.
Well, Mind Up, yeah, was created in 2002, was when we started working on it. And what I wanted was for children actually to feel happier, to be more optimistic, more positive, more joyful in the classroom. And my purpose of doing this is when I learned what was going on with our children's mental health. And I started looking up what was going on and shocked to see that 10-year-olds were committing suicide. That did me in. Why are these children killing themselves? They're not, their brains not developed. Could they be that desperate? Could that be that desolate? They be that hopeless? And then, of course, the other suicides, op was the second leading cause of death up to age 22. And I went, wait a minute, we have a problem here. It isn't just about happiness. It's about giving children the understanding of their brain. So for me, I felt if we're going to ask children to learn, then we need to teach them about the brain. And that isn't just one child, that's every child. So that part of it actually grew into understanding the brain can give you much more agency over your behavior, over your thinking, and you're able to actually relax. We do brain breaks. Brain breaks are literally to quiet your mind and make it rest, and it calms them down, and they love it, and they even ask to do it if the teacher forgets to do that. So we have brain breaks, we have know your brain, all the emotional parts. Obviously, it's not neuroscience, you know, but it's know your amygdala, know your prefrontal cortex, know the hippocampus. This information is absolutely for parents, it's for teachers, it's for everybody. Mind up for life. But with children, I think it does them such a disservice not to understand their brain and love their brain and know that they can change their brain. Understanding this, we researched it, and the research was so crazy, unbelievable of how it changed these children that our researcher at University of British Columbia said, I have to do this again. I can't believe in all the years that she's done SEL, she's never had this kind of results. So when we did this, I said, okay, that's it. Goldie Hawn, not a teacher, not a neuroscientist, not a psychologist. I have now proven this program works. That's going to be the star, not me.
So
And
Mind Up is a program that is currently it's in schools.
Oh, yeah.
And it's used to train teachers and also a training for the kids in how they can regulate their own emotions and how they can be more positive and less pessimistic. What would you say are the key goals of that you would like to see happen in children as a result of this program?
More self-love, first of all, because they now have agency over their thinking, more empowered, which is, we could call that more agency, but it's still more feeling more powerful. They understand how to manage their emotions because they now know what's going on in their brain. And they know ultimately these tools, right, to get back on track. Now, the other thing I think that has to go into our program, which is not yet done, which we are going to do, because we have to do problem solving. So we have to do conflict resolution. And there are little things for the kids to say, how do we solve this problem? Or how do we create conflict, and how do we create something good that comes out of it? How do we negotiate with each other to understand? And then these kids do this in pairs or they do it in groups. But we don't when they say use your noodle, that means use your prefrontal cortex, okay? And they know that. So now we're going to use our prefrontal cortex without emotion, where we put the amygdala at rest for a while. And now we're going to talk about how to solve some problems. That's critical thinking. So I'd like children to actually have more critical thinking. But when a brain is frenzied, it can't learn. Anybody, even an adult, when our brain is frenzied, remember like times when the alarm goes off and you're looking for your keys? I mean, you suddenly become an idiot. You don't remember.
Yeah.
I put my keys, I don't remember. Oh my God, what's the number of so-and-so? Is a number. I know there's a number. I can't remember the number. I mean, your brain's on fire, right?
Right.
But that's what we call hijacking our emotions. So if you stop, you breathe, you focus, you calm, what lights up is your prefrontal cortex. So that executive function now goes online. And this is all things that have done an MRI. So we're able to know and understand that. So
The prefrontal cortex is the executive function, the logical problem solving part of the brain, right? And so what you're saying is when the other parts of the brain, the amygdala, the parts that are responsible for fight or flight, for that kind of emotional thing, when that's in overdrive, everything else shuts down. And so the purpose of teaching children about the parts of their brain is to know that it's within their ability to regulate that.
It's creating context to your brain. If we don't teach them about the brain, they have no context to anything. So what we want to do is to create these experiences, knowing that overly emotional or whatever, that it's our job to calm down this dog who's barking. You want to be able to calm that down. And we do that through our brain breaks. So the children understand when they get quiet, when and why they're listening to the chime, and why their thoughts come into their mind, because brains think all the time. They never stop thinking. So we actually are exercising our brain like a muscle. And this is the same way like we have all kinds of physical, activity and, gym and all this stuff, but you don't have anything to do with brain gym. Also, one more thing. Well, there's many more things. Empathy can be taught. And so in the classroom, we do various different exercises that actually bring on empathy. In fact, we were talking about one of our books,
Mhm.
And I think this is one of the areas where you don't have to talk about empathy, but you can have this reaction to something that one little boy was kind of a troublemaker, was able to see what was behind the door. And that's where suddenly his heart opened up. You know, training in schools is great, but we can't stop in schools. We want this to, our book, my hope for that is that it can go in different areas. Because there's a lot of different areas whose schools are great and we want them to understand it. But you know, these principles can happen in books and videos and different ways of spreading it out into the world in various different venues, right?
What all of you in the audience are learning tonight is that Goldie and I are creating a book series together to be published by Penguin Random House, Penguin Workshop. And it's about these, it's called The Kindness Club, and it's about these principles. They're stories, they're fictional stories, but they're illustrating for children the principles that Mind Up espouses, which are principles of mental health, focusing on empathy, on learning how to be a mediator and not an aggressor, learning how to manage your own emotions, learning how to mindfully listen and act. So those are the goals of it. And this came about sort of serendipitously, and I'm so happy to be working with Goldie. So Goldie, talk a little bit, not particularly about the books, because they're yet to come, but about how the role of storytelling, because everyone in our audience is a storyteller, can affect change on a large population level.
I think the impact that we can have is powerful, very powerful. And, you know, and remember, the other thing is that I mean, I'm not an expert here, but what I know is that it's important for the children to be able to see the things, and as they read them, to keep it simple. We have a reading problem today, a big one, as you know, and everyone is looking at our lack of their ability to read. In Mind Up, our reading skills went up. Our math skills went up. Okay, that was our research. If you don't help calm down your children, they are not going to learn anything. So the idea of reading is focused attention, which we work on, and the ability to actually listen, which we work on. And we will learn to read. The problem is a frenzied brain doesn't read. And what we're realizing, the causes of that are their stress, their fear, their anger, their emotional outbursts, their uncertainty. They come in with so much going on, more than ever. So when we can create books for calm, we can create books for accessing things and reading, even a book about reading. I'm not an expert on this, except I'm an expert from my heart of trying to make things work better. But I think there's a way to talk about reading, and maybe we could even do that, or whatever. But, this word is whatever this thing. And maybe it's somebody, I mean, by the way, just as another example, I was in the Purple Balls, and the Purple Balls was the worst reading group. And of course, I was the only one in it. So I thought I was in the best reading group. So I had trouble reading, okay?
Yeah.
And in terms of how you work with educators, if you put a mental health preventative program in every classroom, and I'm sorry to say it, but it was mandated. They have to learn about the brain. Excuse me, that's the way life works. Let's get smarter, right? We ask them to use it or lose it. And if they never know, then we're never giving them any soil to grow healthy in. So that's the frustration. It's a great feeling that you're authentic, that you're doing what you believe. And even if it's hard, you don't give up. And, I never gave up, that's kind of the way it works. And it gets hard. It gets hard. But other than that, if you see one child flourish, that's enough for me.
Thank you, Goldie. That was just inspirational. And it's so great to see that our film icons are very often as iconic in real life. It's very thrilling, the work that you're doing, and it gives us all inspiration to focus on mental health. It's the same kind of issue that Cameron spoke about in his opening remarks. That part of our role as creators of literature is to be aware of and protect the mental health of the kids who are growing up into our world. So that's chapter 1 of our special. And now we're moving into our next subject matter, which is the Impact and Legacy Fund's relationship with the National Coalition Against Censorship. I think you all are aware in this audience that we are currently witnessing a surge in the number of book challenges in the United States, especially. I did a little research. The number of titles targeted for censorship in 2003 surpassed 4,200. Over 4,200 books were up for challenges, for book challenges. That is up 65% over just 2022. So clearly there is a movement afoot, and it's a dangerous movement. Many of these books are children's books because that's where many of the powers that be feel that we need to exercise this control. So in order to protect freedom to read and freedom of expression, the Impact and Legacy Fund has partnered with the National Coalition Against Censorship, an incredibly worthwhile group that's been in existence for 50 plus years. That is an aggregate of organizations that are determined to fight book banning and censorship. So this segment is going to focus on the work that we've done. We've sponsored a program called Student Advocates for Speech. So to introduce you to this segment and to the work of the National Coalition Against Censorship, I'd like to introduce you to Lee Rowland. Hi, Lee. Lee is the brand new, or pretty brand new-ish, shall we say, executive director of the National Coalition Against Censorship. And let me just point out that we're being joined by Jenny Kamen, who is our sign language interpreter for this section. So Lee, with that, I'm going to disappear and let you guys take over.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And thank you to all of you for having me be a part of this incredible evening already. Even if I have to follow Goldie Hawn, I'll do my best. But both Cameron and Goldie are sources of joy and hope, I think, for those of us fighting for free expression. So I am Lee. I run the National Coalition Against Censorship, as Lynn said. And to be here tonight is, a special treat because SCBWI is one of our closest and most treasured partners in our fight for free expression. The National Coalition, we turn 50 literally this month. This is our birthday moment, is a consortium of national nonprofit groups dedicated to the principles of free expression. So of course you won't be surprised to note that among our hallowed groups is in fact the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And we at the National Coalition Against Censorship do many types of work. We are standard bearers for free expression. We do advocacy in the kind of legal world, in public education, legislative advocacy. But the heart and soul of NCAC is really our direct program work, which largely focuses in 2 areas, which is fighting censorship in the arts and fighting for the rights and the practice of free expression for American youth. In our Youth Free Expression program, we have kind of many individual projects. 2 of them that stand out are the Student Advocates for Speech, where we work to kind of inculcate and support the next generation of free expression advocates, and our Kids Right to Read network, which basically creates a national network of community advocates dedicated to fighting for free expression and fighting against the censors. People like Cameron, who gives us hope, I think, for the next generation, have come out of our Kids Right to Read network and are participants in it. So SCBWI itself and the Impact and Legacy Fund have been incredible supporters of this work. we fight for free expression in principle. You all are on the front lines of putting free expression into practice. It's a perfect marriage. While we work to kind of support and create the next generation of free expression advocates and stalwarts, you all create, the excitement that lies for that next generation of readers. You literally illustrate the words and the stories that represent their lives and allow them to grow. We hear from our students all the time that books are a lifeline for them, a literal lifeline, right? That they are able to see themselves and their stories represented in the books that you write, in the images that you illustrate. And that next generation in turn gives us hope. So both kind of in principle and practice, we've had an incredible marriage with SCBWI and with the ILF, and we're just so grateful for that. Just one quick note on Cameron. When I first met Cameron, they called me from DC, where Cameron was in the halls of Congress, along with another one of the National Coalition Against Censorship superstars, Datavian, who wasn't able to be here tonight, but was a student advocate for speech. I just see that another of our superstars, Julia Garnett, is in the comments. Hi, Julia, and thank you. And so Cameron and Datavian called me from the halls of Congress, where as young superstars, they had secured themselves a seat at the table and were talking to Congress people about the potential text for a right to read bill. And my heart, grew as many sizes as it could in that moment, realizing that, we at the National Coalition are engaged with and helping to support the next generation of folks who will keep us free, right? And who are given life by your work, and who will be the readers, right, that carry your values and the values of free expression in practice to the next generation and hopefully save us all. So that's my pitch. So without further ado, I think you guys should actually hear from some of these incredible youth free expression advocates that have, again, just represented this wonderful partnership between SCBWI, the fund, and NCAC. So to do that, I'm going to hand this off to my colleague, Dr. Christine Emren, who runs our Youth Free Expression program, including the Student Advocates for Speech and Kids Right to Read network, that so many superstars here tonight have come through. So Christine, I'll hand it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Lee. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy and glad to be here tonight for such an evening, and am feeling the inspiration and also advocacy in the air. So tonight, we are proud to present a groundbreaking collaboration between the National Coalition Against Censorship and the Society of Children's Books, Writers, and Illustrators Impact and Legacy Fund. So through this joint program, we are unleashing the creative voices of students and authors that will explore the profound impact of banned books. So tonight, this evening, we're going to showcase a glimpse of our forthcoming videos that features testimonials from NCAC's Student Advocates for Speech program. These students include Kaya Richards, Branda Gorges, and Alaya Sarmento on the transformative power of literature. But again, that's just the beginning. In the coming weeks, our full library of videos will be available on our websites, offering a comprehensive exploration of the vital roles that books have played to shape our society through the voices of students. So as part of this initiative, SCF students have contributed to personal videos that highlight the significance of banned books and the fundamental importance of the students' right to read. So these stories are not just about literature, they're about defending the freedom of expression in a democratic society. So tonight, I invite you to join us on this journey as we delve into the profound impact of children's books and discover how each of us, through our contributions to the literary world, can make a meaningful difference. So get ready, everyone, to be inspired, empowered, and motivated, not only to take action in your own way, but together we hope to champion the power of storytelling to create a more just and beautiful world.
Hi everyone, My name is Kaya, I'm a high school senior, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts on The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. The main character, Pecola, like many black females in America, is subject to the cruel beauty standards enabled by white America, leading to self-hatred by the end. The narrative illustrates complex themes like colorism, demonization, and white supremacy. Now let's talk about why this book found itself on the banned list in the first place. The Bluest Eye confronts uncomfortable realities and challenges societal norms, making some uncomfortable with its raw exploration of racial issues. It was banned in certain places due to its explicit content and the discomfort it sparked among those unwilling to confront the harsh truths it presents. A world without books like this is a world that is significantly less empathetic, less rich, and less informed. The Bluest Eye is not just a banned book. It's a testament to the importance of free speech and unrestricted access to literature. It reminds us that discomfort and challenges are often catalysts for growth and understanding. Let's cherish the freedom to read, explore diverse perspectives, and embrace the power of storytelling in shaping our worldview.
Hi, I'm Branda, a high school senior. The book that had the most impact on me was Speak by Lori Halsey Anderson. The book follows high school freshman Melinda after being sexually assaulted the summer before high school. It goes through her depression, isolation, passions, and journey to find her voice. The book was banned for depicting these issues. It matters to me because it speaks to many teenagers. Even though we don't want to admit it, many teenagers experience sexual assault and mental health issues. Without this book, I think I would have felt more alone in the world. I've had experiences relating to the character that I haven't been able to find in other people. Reading books like these allow me to find people who have had similar experiences. It creates a sense of community and commodity. Most books do. A lot of these banned books are meant to create relatable experiences for those who aren't always included. Inclusion is one of the fundamental parts of democracy. Democracy is the government of the people, and that can't be compatible with exclusion and censoring the voices of a few.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah. I'm a 12th grader in high school from Florida. And out of my 17 years of living, I can proudly say that I have accomplished many things, like getting straight A's and never having failed a math test before, which is kind of crazy. But out of all of them, my proudest achievement to date has been surviving middle school. Having just moved from Singapore, which is in a completely different continent, integrating into the American school system at 12 years old was absolutely terrifying. Besides just being teased for the way my food smelled and the funny foreign slang that I used, it was also particularly difficult purely because puberty sucked. It was a time of awkward growth spurts, bad first kisses, and figuring out what makeup was. And after noticing my difficult transition period, a dear friend of mine gifted me the first book that I had ever read since moving from Singapore. And this book was Judy Blume's Dear God, It's Me, Margaret, which is a book that centers around a girl named Margaret who just moved from New Jersey, and she's in 6th grade, and she's navigating everything. New friends, new school, new environment, identity, religion, deodorant, and bras. And it was as if someone had gone into my life at that particular point and wrote a book about it. And reading it just made me feel so much more less alone. And it assured me that whatever I was experiencing was not some anomalous experience that no one could relate to. And Bloom was able to so brilliantly and beautifully depict what it felt like to be a child-teenager hybrid, exploring global and social issues for the first time. It also taught me imperative lessons like exploring your identity for yourself and not just blindly listening to what other people tell you, which is the essence of what freedom is, the ability to think for ourselves. And Bloom teaches us that we have to find harmony in all of our individualities. And if we limit our honest human experiences, then we can't live in an honest democracy. Especially living in Florida, this is a real situation for me in which a lot of our books has been being banned. There's a lot of censorship issues. And so it's now more important than ever to honor books and authors like Judy Blume.
Welcome back, everyone. Weren't those brilliant student videos? So now let's get ready for a dynamic exchange of ideas with our students at this inspiring Changemaker special. Join us for a captivating discussion between Lois Lowry, the acclaimed author of The Giver, and passionate high school free speech advocates from our Student Advocates for Speech program at NCAC. They are Riley Lapley, Julia Garnett, and Nassim Alseem. This promises to be an unforgettable dialogue on the power of literature and the importance of defending our right to read.
Hi, everyone. It's Lynn again, and we're back with 3 students from NCAC, 3 outstanding students who are going to interview the renowned Lois Lowry. So I'm sure everyone in our audience knows Lois's work. She was twice awarded the Newbery Medal for Number Our Stars and for The Giver, and writes beautifully and thoughtfully about challenging subjects, also humorous subjects and human beings. Her books have been challenged, and she is an advocate for free speech, among many other excellent causes. So we invited 3 of the outstanding students from NCAC to be in conversation with Lois about challenge books.
I'm Julia. I use she, they pronouns. I am from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a senior in high school, and I'm an activist fighting censorship and fighting book bans.
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm a junior in Central Pennsylvania, and I'm passionate about fighting censorship.
Hi, my name is Nassim Aleem. I am from Houston, Texas, and like Julia and Riley, I'm also very passionate about fighting book bans and making sure that each individual in my community is heard.
Thank you for being with us. It's your commitment to this conversation is really beautiful and much appreciated. So the students, I'm going to turn it over to you.
What is something that you wish that those who have tried to ban your book, The Giver, knew about your book?
I wish the people who want to ban the book would read it, because most often what's happened is they have taken things out of context, and they, I think, are uncertain why they are troubled by this book. They have taken several things out of context, and they don't really get why it is they're troubled by the book. My impression is that some parents are disconcerted by this book because it portrays a boy who perceives the hypocrisy of the previous generation, his parents' generation. And he perceives the dishonesty of the government that he's living under, and he takes action to fight that. And some parents are very disconcerted by an adolescent, a child who breaks the rules in order to fight against what his parents perceive as the right thing. What do I want people to know? I would like them to read the book more carefully and to understand what it's trying to say. And it could be argued that if it's not clear, it's because the author didn't do her job. But I think it is clear if you read the book carefully, and I think kids perceive that. But when I have attempted to address censorship or challenges in certain places, I go and do my little thing, or I write a letter to the newspaper. But the ones who really make a difference are the people your age. When kids speak up, when a kid goes to a school board meeting, it's so much more impressive than when an author goes to a school board meeting or sends a letter in. So good for you. Thank you all for that.
I kind of want to talk a little bit, as you mentioned, about the book banning and how it's made obvious that Jonas, he doesn't have any real like sexual desire. He even takes these pills, for example, so to suppress any of those. And like you said, people should read the book before judging. Don't just judge it by what you've heard of it. But how would you get people who are more like adverse to those types of readings? How would you get them to not only see the book for what it is, but to allow their younger readers to really read it?
The people who are out on the front lines are not the authors so much, it's the teachers. And a lot of teachers over the years, The Giver was published in, let me think, probably 1993. So it's been out there a long time. Gosh, is that 30 years? Yes, almost 30 years. And for all of those years, teachers have been interjecting that book into part of their curriculum and placing it in the hands of kids. And of course, they're the ones on the front lines now. I'm sitting here in Florida where teachers are resigning because they're no longer allowed to use books in the classroom. And you, of course, are in Texas where it's been a terrible problem as well. But I have nothing but the highest regard for A, teachers, and B, on equal status, librarians, because they're the ones who have to be out there fighting for the freedom of speech. So I think in answer to your question, it's a matter of placing the book, a book, by me or by anybody else, into the hands of a receptive reader and encouraging them. I sit here alone in a room writing the words down, but they're the ones out there who have to deal with everything that's going on. And incidentally, Nassim, you're in Texas, and we've been talking about The Giver, but it was 2 or 3 years ago that Number the Stars was to be removed from a school district just outside of Dallas. There's a book that had never been banned before, and suddenly there in Texas, somebody wanted it removed. It was a school district in which the superintendent had put out a directive that said no book was to be used unless it was used in conjunction with a book presenting the opposite point of view. And there was no book presenting the opposite point of view of Number the Stars. And so teachers rose up and eventually the superintendent rescinded that directive. But for a few brief days or weeks, it was out there and it was frightening.
As a writer, I'm curious on your perspective as to what the exigence has been in such a rise of censorship over the past few years. Just why now? Why are people now feeling so strongly about it?
Well, it's been the rise of conservatism in this country. It's gone along with that. It's been concomitant. But at any rate, it's an American phenomenon. And it's a recent one, although it's been happening now for some years, increasing. And thank goodness there are people your age willing to take it on.
I am from Cy-Fair ISD, and luckily I am one of few districts who actually have students be able to give says in what is banned. Like we have a whole process where if a book is up for challenge, it won't be taken off the shelves until the book has been fully read and reviewed by a committee. But I know in many neighboring districts that isn't the case, where students actually have books that are being taken off the shelves in mass numbers, All Boys Aren't Blue being one of them. And I see an alarming amount of queer literature, African-American literature, being taken off. And one of the consequences of this is students from minority groups aren't able to relate in ways that they wish that they could. The reason why many people aren't able to get into literature is because they don't have books that actually resonate with them. So that is one of the biggest consequences that I've seen, especially in my communities.
Kids have sometimes asked me, why is it in the world where Jonas lives that aside from the Giver's Quarters, with its thousands of books, the people have no books? There are no books in that community. Why not? What had happened to them?
And I point out that probably early on in the days of the place where Jonas lived, somebody said once, you know what? We don't have wars anymore. Maybe it'd be a good idea if our kids didn't read books about war, because that's frightening. They don't understand it. We don't have war anymore. So, and they would take all those books away. And then somebody else would say, hey, we found a cure for cancer. Let's take away books that mention cancer. So, and it's really people in the beginning who want to protect their kids. And I can't fault them for that. So it's a benevolent beginning to something that mushrooms and turns into something that is becoming what it is in this country today, where incidentally, there have been actual burnings of books, one in Tennessee. I'm sure Julia knows about that one.
It's the neighboring county right next to us.
Big bonfire, yeah.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm not sure if it's one specific book because we found a lot in my county, Sumner County, that a lot of the books don't make it into the libraries to begin with, at least in our school libraries, which is really sad for our minority communities. But then those books that are in the libraries are challenged sometimes, but then other times they are kind of pulled off the shelves very quietly because we do have a really kind of extreme state law that deals with explicit materials. And so our librarians are under a lot of pressure to follow those state laws. And it can be really frustrating because it's not their fault at all, but they do have to pull so many great books off of the shelves. And unfortunately, the student population and our residents in Sumner County often don't know what books are being taken off the shelves.
Are people who disagree with these policies in your state or in your area, are they running for office? Are they running for school board? I mean, it seems the only way we're going to win this battle is politically.
One of my really close friends and mentors, she is running for school board, but she is the only Democrat in our county running for school board. And I will say we did have a huge win in our latest elections in March for school board, where we elected Republicans, but Republicans who are not aligned with our book banning group.
No.
So we have this group that raised a ton of money, is very loud, but does not represent all of the values in our county. And they're very pro book banning, but they lost every single election in Sumner County for our school board, which was amazing. And I'm really excited for the future of our school board and the decisions they'll be able to make because we did not vote in our extremist aligned group. So I'm really proud of that for our county and going forward in the future.
The public libraries, they are not subject to a lot of policies that challenge books. I do know in other districts and counties, there's the Independence Law Center, which is a conservative law firm, which has been partnering with a lot of school districts that surround us. And they've been taking books out of the curriculum and, threatening legal fines if they don't follow certain policies. So it's really interesting what's going around our school district, but not necessarily in our school culture itself.
Are there other people your age who are activists as you are? Are you part of groups in your areas?
Yeah, very much so. There's multicultural communities, Gay Straight Alliance. We have lots of student organizations and concerned parents and groups in the community that are working together to see how we can help.
Coming from Texas, I would say it's a bit of like a double-edged sword where we do have lots of individuals who are interested in preventing these book bans from happening. We have organizations like Seat at the Table, which are like really engaged in making sure that these book bans don't continue. But we also have a bunch of conservative parents and policymakers who are kind of doing the opposite, right? Trying to get these books taken off the shelves, both in public libraries and in our own libraries. So it's kind of a mix of both, which is unfortunate, but at least I know I have a community of people my age who are also fighting the same fight.
And Lois, I think it's fair that we come back to you for a concluding remark about about as an author and representing the children's book community and authors everywhere about what you would like to see and what the goal should be for people who are defenders of freedom to read.
What would I like to see?
Just that,
Oh,
yeah.
the same thing we would all like to see. That everything would be available, that freedom of speech is upheld in this country. I would like to see the results of a November election turn things around, but it's going to be a slow, long haul. And I'm just so pleased to see these young people, because that's the future. And they're so articulate and brave. I envy that. I wouldn't wish to be 16 again, but I admire those of you who are and what you're doing for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois, and thank you, students. So in that segment, we met 6 students who are involved in the National Coalition Against Censorship program. And I would say that if we need to have hope for the future in terms of the defense of our democracy, we can look right at those 6 students and all feel like our hearts are full and the future is in good hands. While you were all listening to that, I was spinning my secret wheel of fortune here in my dining room. That's right, I have a large wheel of fortune in order to determine a winner for the first giveaway, which is an autographed copy of The Giver by Lois Lowry. And that will go to Sharon Shamsi. Sharon, congratulations. Look to your mailbox in the next week. You'll be getting an autographed copy of The Giver. So that leads us to our next segment, which is the presentation of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals. So this award is a brand new one initiated this year by the Impact and Legacy Fund, sponsored and funded by Karen Winnick, one of the members of our steering committee. Karen is a children's author and illustrator, but has a lifetime commitment to generating compassion for animals and to the preservation of species and of our natural world. So this award has been an incredible gift for us and for our community and for the children who will be receiving these books. So I would like to introduce you to Karen Winnick. Karen, are you there? We're through the magic of technology. We're hoping to get her. There she is. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks, Lynn.
On behalf of everyone, I want to thank you for creating this award, which will be given to the books that represent compassion for animals. So let's let you go ahead and talk about the honor book and the first winner, and then hear from our first winner. Go.
Thank you. I believe strongly in the power of books to make a difference in a young person's life, because I care so much about the well-being of the animals that share our planet and the importance of knowledge gained through books to spark interest, even better, empathy and compassion, and perhaps advocacy. I created the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals. The name of the award is very important to me. Why? I remember very clearly reading Charlotte's Web when I was 8 years old. I have cared about spiders. I take them outside. And pigs. I won't eat one ever since. So I'm pleased to announce the awards for the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals. Full Moon Pups, the runner-up to the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals, impressed me as a perfect picture book to spark empathy and compassion for animals in young readers. Liz Garten-Scalin has written simply and lyrically of a mother wolf's care for her newborn wolf pups, the commitment of the older wolves in the pack to help care for them, and the growth of the pups as they reach and range. These wolves are a family that cares for their young and each other. What an important lesson for young readers. Along with Chuck Groning's art, Full Moon Pup sets a memorable mood, unfolding as the new moon waxes and the wolf pups grow bigger, bolder, and old enough to join their pack in a grand night howl. Congratulations for being our honor book. In Home is Calling, The Journey of the Monarch Butterfly, one of the 2 winners of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals, Catherine Pryor, the author, and Ellie Peterson, the illustrator, have taken us on an incredible journey of survival. Many of us know and enjoy the beautiful monarchs, but in this engaging picture book, we're part of their long and difficult yearly migration across continents, from Canada and the US to Mexico. How could readers not develop compassion for the determination and struggles of the monarchs along the way? Even better, Home is Calling enables us to help these wonderful butterflies survive by offering guidelines like planting milkweed and speaking up against harmful chemicals to help their survival. I loved sharing the monarch's journey in Home is Calling, and know all its readers will too. Catherine Pryor, please accept our congratulations for your picture book, Home is Calling, being one of 2 winners of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion to Animals.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. I'm so grateful to you, and I'm grateful to be part of this community that understands the impact books have on how kids will view the world the rest of their lives. Ellie Peterson and I actually met through our local SCBWI chapter, and that meeting has led to a years-long friendship and creative partnership. So receiving this award from SCBWI feels extra meaningful. In fact, we were carpooling to an SCBWI event to promote our first book together when I told her I started working on a book about monarch butterflies. I told her about their incredible migratory journey, traveling thousands of miles toward their winter habitat, and that while it takes 4 generations of monarchs to travel north, the monarchs traveling south make the entire journey against incredible odds to the exact same forest their great-grandparents left the previous spring. It felt like part science and part magic, and I must have said something right because Ellie said, I want to illustrate that. So we began the journey from idea to book with the help of our incredible agent, Adria Getz, and our eagle-eyed editor at Worthy Kids, Peggy Schaefer. One reason I wanted to write this book was seeing photo after photo of beaming children celebrating monarch butterflies. I saw pictures of them collecting data in the field, planting milkweed, or holding signs they'd painted to welcome the monarchs to their town. Whether they were in Canada, the United States, or Mexico, one thing remained constant: the delight on children's faces at their proximity to monarchs. But unfortunately, this migratory phenomenon is in danger. Yet, unlike most endangered species, monarchs are a creature ordinary people and kids can help. And by creating and protecting monarch habitats, children can see themselves help a species in need, which I hope will spark a lifelong belief that they can be part of solving problems larger than themselves. Being honored with this award will spread this message to new audiences and I hope inspire more children and communities to take steps to protect these incredible creatures. And finally, Ellie and I would like to dedicate this award to a hero the world lost while we were creating this book. Omar Gomez Gonzalez grew up in a logging family in Michoacan, Mexico, and for a time logged the forest the monarch's butterflies return to each winter, which is one of the threats to their survival. After college, he ended up working with both his community and with conservationists from around the world to turn those very forests into the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve, which he then managed. He was a prominent butterfly activist and anti-logging crusader. He disappeared in January 2020, and his body was found 2 weeks later. Ellie added his initials to the school scene in Home is Calling. And we hope that every time someone sees it, the memory of this incredible change maker and friend to the environment will live on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Congratulations. It's a wonderful book. Roland Smith's novel, The Wilds, The Vaquita, covered all the bases to be a winner of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion to Animals. As someone who loves animals and is invested emotionally in the plight of the vaquita, I was tremendously impressed by Roland Smith's knowledge of the vaquita and the way he presented it so accurately, with believable characters in an action-packed, page-turner adventure story. In introducing middle grade readers to the vaquita, I've no doubt they will develop compassion for this critically endangered small porpoise who's struggling to survive in Mexico's Sea of Cortez. I loved The Wilds, The Vaquita, and once I started reading it, couldn't put it down. Roland Smith, please accept my congratulations for being one of 2 winners of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion to Animals.
Hello, Roland Smith here. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have my novel, The Vaquita, co-win the inaugural Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals. It's a fabulous honor. I wish I was speaking to you live, but alas, I'm at a school talking to a group of students, hopefully instilling compassion for animals into their young hearts. I want to thank SCBWI and the Impact and Legacy Fund, Lynn Oliver, Moira Peckham, and last but not least, author, illustrator, Karen Winnick for establishing this wonderful book award. And congratulations to my co-winners, Catherine Pryor and Ellie Peterson, for their brilliant and important book, Home is Calling, about monarch butterflies. My first eco-adventure novel, Thunder Cave, was published by Disney almost 30 years ago, and lucky for me, it is still in print, along with dozens of other novels and nonfiction books about animals. Before I became a full-time writer, I had a great day job that lasted over 20 years. I was a zookeeper, senior zookeeper, curator of mammals and birds, general curator, assistant zoo director, and finally a research biologist rescuing wildlife and letting endangered species back into the wild. My first book in the Wild series was called The Amazon and deals with reintroducing golden lion tamarins into the Brazilian rainforest. The Vaquita is the second book in the Wild series. It's about saving the smallest porpoise in the world, which is only found in the Sea of Cortez, and there are only 10 of these little cetaceans left, an alarmingly low number, but I believe it's still possible to save them. I was the species coordinator for the red wolf for many years, and we were able to bring their population up from 17 animals to over 200 animals and reintroduce them back into the wild, convincing me that it is never too late to save an animal from extinction. All we need is the right skill set, the passion to proceed despite the obstacles, and the compassion to actively help these rare animals. This is why this award is so important to me. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
So I just wanted to congratulate both the winners of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award, and to let you know that we named the award the Charlotte and Wilbur, of course, after Charlotte's Web, and we did so with the blessing of the estate of E.B. White, who were entirely supportive of this award and what it does. So the winners receive not only a cash award, but we will produce for them a video school visit that will be sent out to schools across the country so that the school kids can learn about these 2 animals, about the vaquita and the monarch butterfly, and include that as part of their nature curriculum. And the books that they can order from there are being distributed by Children's Book World at an amazing children's bookstore here in Los Angeles. So it's a complete program of awarding excellence and then trying to make those books available to readers. So because we are creative people, you know that we are always tempted to break the rules. And we did this year as well. So the winners and the honor book of the Charlotte and Wilbur Award, you've already met. But then another book we became aware of that came in a little late. And we should not it should not have been a contender, but we loved this book so much and thought it was so important that we created a special citation of excellence to honor this book and its creators. You will be familiar with its creators, certainly one of them, who is Barbara Kingsolver, the Pulitzer Prize winning novelist, who worked with her daughter, Lily Kingsolver, to create this amazing book, which establishes a compassion for an animal that we have long needed to have compassion for. Sorry for ending that sentence with a preposition. So to introduce this and then go right into the interview with Barbara and Lily Kingsolver, here is Karen Winnick once again.
Coyote's Wild Home is a beautifully written and illustrated picture book that imparts compassion for animals through a wonderful storytelling by Lily Kingsolver and Barbara Kingsolver, and lush paintings by Paul Maroka. By showing parallel families, a young coyote pup and his auntie, and a young girl and her grandpa, a connection is drawn. Coyote Pup and Diana are taught about the world around them, the balance of nature, food and survival, by caring family members. Within animal families and human families, there's much love. Coyotes are too often maligned. After reading Coyote's Wild Home, I'm certain a young reader will care about them. For creating this wonderful book, you're being presented with a citation of honor for the Charlotte and Wilbur Award for Compassion for Animals. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is really touching. This is a wonderful honor. Thank you.
Truly.
So Lily and Barbara, I extend my congratulations to you on this beautiful book. First, let's start by hearing a little bit about the genesis of the book. Barbara, we know that you are a novelist, an essayist, a poet, a Pulitzer Prize winner, writer of nonfiction. Lily, we know that you're at the beginning of your literary career. So I'd love to hear, first of all, what inspired the book, and then how you came together to write it.
Griffin Press, the wonderful Griffin Press, has a series that they call Voices for the Voiceless, of children's picture books that are meant to engage children and their parents with the real biology, the genuine lives of wild animals, of nature. So they wanted a book in their series about coyotes. They reached out to me because I wrote a novel in which one of the characters was a coyote biologist. So they thought maybe Barbara wants to write this book. I thought, what a great idea, and I can't do it. I have written all kinds of things, but I can't write children's books. I have tried. I had actually composed an email to Emily at Griffin saying, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really sorry I can't do this. Well, as it happened, that draft letter and a previous book in the series, which they'd sent me about Warbler's Journey, were sitting on my kitchen table when Lily came over to visit, which she often did. And she said, what's this? What are they asking? A book about coyotes? Of course, Mom, you have to do this. And I said, well, but I can't, because the biology of coyotes is so complex, so complicated. And how could you possibly fit that into a narrative small enough to fit in a children's picture book? And Lily said, well, how about this? And she just rolled the whole plot right out. And I said, Lily, you need to write this book.
And I said, why don't we do it together? Because I've never written a book before. I didn't know what I was getting into. And I thought this was such a way to reach kids in a way that I, never imagined having the opportunity to do. But Mom, reaches people with books all the time. And why not reach a whole new demographic of people? And Mom is being very humble. She can write anything she puts her mind to.
Yeah,
She
I
could have
think
done it. But I was so honored that she wanted me to be part of it. And I have the benefit of having worked with kids for about 8 years. So I've spent a lot of time with kids, spent a lot of time reading children's books. I have a lot of opinions about children's books, and it just kind of opened this beautiful door for us to work on a project together. This book follows 2 stories. One story is the storyline of a coyote pup who lives in a forest with his family unit, and his auntie is taking him out for his first hunt. He's going to learn about the woods he lives in. And at the same time as this coyote pup and his auntie are having an adventure in these woods, a grandfather takes his granddaughter to go camping in the woods for the first time, kind of gently teaches her all of these lessons.
How is it that literature can create change without becoming so didactic that it puts people off?
I think the bottom line is empathy. It's compassion. And this is where literature stands apart from journalism, from advertising, from op-eds, from all the other things that we read that are kind of telling us what to think, that are trying to direct us. A story just invites you to experience the life of another person, or even another being that's not a person. And by putting down your life for a moment and entering the eyes and the mind of another character, which literature, which storytelling does, it moves you. It erases this barrier between the self and the other. It lets you experience another life. And when you come back to yourself, you're changed. That's how literature can change the world. By reducing those barriers between us, by creating empathy, which is the best part of human nature, and it's the opposite of war and all of the bad things. And what Lily is really, really good at and has studied and now is professionally good at is doing this with children.
We can introduce children to positive aspects of nature before they're developmentally ready to make real changes. The very first step is to create these positive experiences and thoughts about nature so the children can carry that into their lives as adults when they have the cognitive capacity to make change through voting or protesting or whatever you decide to do to make change in your life.
We're talking to an audience of people who want to create change through their writing. What do you have any counsel on that, Barbara?
I think it's really pretty simple. It's just tell a good story that pulls the reader in, that helps the reader kind of drop themselves, forget themselves for a moment, and really go with this experience, go in there, into that life, that other life. There are different levels of barriers between ourselves and the other. There are other kinds of people that we might have prejudices against. And so that's a barrier that we can, as storytellers, we can help to break down sometimes. The barrier between humans and non-humans is a significant one that you can, that we can address with our storytelling. And a particular challenge that we wanted to take on, it's actually one of the reasons we felt like we had to do this, we had to write and publish this book, is the barrier between humans and predators.
Yes.
We have a long history as humans, centuries of history of hating predators and killing them, frankly, whenever we can at the first opportunity. Even children's literature is suffused with a hatred and a fear of predators, the big bad wolf, the bad bear. These are presented as enemies and villains. And so we wanted to write a book that gives predators good PR. As both of us are trained in biology, we learned the predators are extremely important. They are the most valuable. A keystone predator is the most valuable member of its guild of species. The predator that's on the top of the food chain is the one that holds all the others in place. When you remove that wolf or that bear, things fall apart. The herbivores overpopulate. You have too many deer. They're eating all the trees. The other things that depend on the trees drop out of the, go extinct. So those predators need our understanding. They need our support. So that was a challenge we were ready to take on.
Barbara, you've written a lot about hope, essays on how we can keep hope alive. How did you two struggle with that in this book, and how should people in our audience who are writing about change, about affecting change in a world that is beset by very existential problems, how do you balance that?
I will just say that hope is a duty. That's how I think of it. It is our obligation as artists to keep hope alive in our own lives and in the lives of our readers, because hope is our responsibility. When you give it up, you are forsaking the children and you're forsaking the future. You're abdicating your responsibility to help create a livable world, or retain a livable world.
We owe it to children to have hope, because it's a sort of respect to them, saying, we're giving you this world and we have to have hope, because otherwise what are we handing them?
One thing I know for sure as a parent is that you can always get your kids outside, and that my experience with small children was that they were always happier outside. Lily was born in Tucson, Arizona. When the kids were small, we lived in Tucson, Arizona. I missed the trees, and I'm really happy to be back now under the eastern canopy of deciduous hardwoods. But we didn't have trees in Tucson, not too many. But the place where we had trees, of all things, was the cemetery. There were these big, giant irrigated trees. And so Lily's earliest nature memories were in the cemetery. I don't think she knew or cared that there were, dead people under our feet. That's where we could go to feel the peace. I grew up on a farm, playing outside all the time, all the seasons of the year. My Sims and I were outside, playing in the fields and in the woods, and fishing in the farm ponds, and climbing the trees, and catching the bugs and the snakes, and trying to bring everything home and make it our pet, often unsuccessfully. But I mean, that was just the world I grew up in. Was not human made. It was made by nature itself. It was created by evolution. I grew up with a very firm sense of myself as one species among many species. I just grew up with this awareness that every time I take a breath, that was made by a tree. That came from leaves. It's just this, being one species among many that's the aquarium I swim in. That's the world I know. So that naturally, that's the world I'm going to put on the page. Wherever the human characters are and the stuff that they're making, they're going to be in a place that also involves the non-human world.
I have collaborated on many a novel and many a nonfiction work, and it's not as easy as it looks. Then when you add the family element in, I imagine that makes it even slightly more complex.
It was hard. Sometimes we had to kill our darlings. There were things that we loved about the story that we just had to let go. But we also realized that a picture really is worth 1,000 words. And that was a wonderful day when we said, oh, you know what? Paul can do all this. We don't really have to describe the setting. We describe it to Paul and he paints it, and that's done. When we realized that our job, we don't really have to do the showing of who, what, where, and when. The painter does that. We kind of have to concentrate on the why, the characters, the dialogue, and the sort of the why of the story.
One of the best definitions I ever heard about what a picture book was from the great illustrator Tommy DePaola, and he said a picture book is a book that after you read it to a child the first time, they can read it themselves by following the pictures, which I think is a really sort of stunning realization that you are narrating and creating empathy and doing the why and animating the pictures, but that the pictures are half the story. It's very hard for writers, for people who are used to having the luxury of having all the words you want.
A lot of people have been surprised when I told them I can't write a children's book. I don't know how to do that, because you imagine that it's a tiny subset of the skills that you use to write a whole big novel for adults. Not true. It's a whole different skill set. I think it's more akin to poetry, because you spend so much time with just phrases and narrowing down. And it's akin to screenwriting, because you do have the luxury of just handing it to the director and saying, okay, you set the scene, I'll just write the dialogue. You know, it's more like that, which I have also done. The real strength is to find a story, a little story that can tell a big story inside of it.
A lot of what we wanted to accomplish with this book was compassion and empathy, like Mom said earlier, empathy for predators, empathy for their place in the ecosystem. Part of what I would like to change is the way we reach children about nature, the way we interact with children about nature. I think we owe them the respect of telling them true science, you know, telling them real researched facts. We owe them the respect of making their media thoughtful. You can tell when love has been put into a book, when someone is writing about something they care about and they researched and they know about. They make very different books, and kids can tell the difference too. You know, kids gravitate toward things that are true and respectful of their cognitive development.
I couldn't say it better, Lily. That's it. Just helping children cultivate love for the non-human world that they will grow up in and they will inherit from us and preserve into the future.
My job for right now is to do 3 book giveaways, and I would like to announce the winners. So congratulations to Abby Cortez, who will receive a signed copy of Home is Calling, the beautiful book by Catherine Pryor and Ellie Peterson that traces the story of the monarch migration. Congratulations to Young Vo, who will receive a signed copy of The Wilds 2, the Vaquita by Roland Smith. And congratulations to Claudia Godinez, who will receive a signed copy of Coyote's Wild Home, signed by Lily Kingsolver and Barbara Kingsolver. Those books are all incredible books. And by the way, should anyone in the audience be inspired to purchase them, and we hope you will, you can do that anywhere books are sold, or if you want to go online, you could go to bookshop.org, which supports independent booksellers, and the Impact and Legacy Fund is a big supporter of that organization. So now we're coming to our final segment, and that is to present the Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction for a Better World. I think you're all familiar with Russell Freedman, who was the first person, I believe the first person to win a Newbery Award for a work of nonfiction. And this award is sponsored by Russell's estate, and it goes to a singular work of nonfiction. So to present that award, we have 2 members of our steering committee who were also served as part of the judging committee for this award. So I'd like to introduce you to Federico Aribia and to Anna Otaro to present the award.
Thanks, Lynn. The Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction for a Better World is given to a work of nonfiction that contributes to our understanding of how to make our world a better place. There were over 200 submissions for the 2024 award. Many volunteers helped whittle that down to 12 semifinalists that the judging committee reviewed. The judges were book editor Mary Hogan, Anna Utaru, and myself. This is my 2nd year judging for this award, and I really enjoyed the thoughtful discussion the judging committee had about each of the 12 semifinalists. The 2024 winner of the Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction is Accountable, the true story of a racist social media account and the teenagers whose lives it changed, by Dashka Slater. It stood out because the author's incredible attention to detail and the frequent referencing of research and data that helped explain the psychology and the sociology involved in the events that are chronicled in this book. The author explores how careless, biased, and hateful social media posts can be devastating for all those involved and for their community, with long-lasting implications. Congratulations, Dashka Slater. Anna?
Thanks, Federico. Hello, everyone. This was my first time judging this award. And like Federico, I really enjoyed this process. And I was incredibly honored by this special opportunity. The final books all had special importance and just unique dimensions that tugged at the heart. We hold all these books in high esteem. However, one book distinctly stood out in its contribution to our understanding of how to make our world and society better. Congratulations to Dashka Slater for winning this award, and congratulations to all our talented finalists. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Evans Chan, executor of the Russell Freedman Literary Trust. Today, we are so happy to co-present with SCBWI the second Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction for a Better World. Some 6 years ago, a great friend of Russell's and mine came to speak at Russell's memorial service in Manhattan.
Hello, I'm Dinah Stevenson. I was Russell Freedman's editor at Clarion Books for 20 years and 7 books.
Dinah had discovered and published many important authors, such as Newbery medalist Linda Sue Park and Karen Cushman, and Caldecott medalist David Wiesner. Dinah was close to her authors and close to Russell. We went to her Christmas parties, and she joined Russell to accept his National Humanities Medal in the White House in 2007. My personal friendship with her began after Russell's death. It wasn't extensive, but meaningful. In January of this year, she was under hospice care already. I texted her some photos of this book by Russell, which she edited, Angel Island. I was at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, attending a concert called Angel Island. And the book was on display in the lobby's bookstore. I texted Dinah, telling her, their book, her and Russell's book is here. Their legacies will live on. By that, I mean their combined and separate legacies, which are built on so many great contributors to American children's book of the past, will live on. I sincerely hope so. Many of us will always remember Dinah's warmth, intelligence, dedication, and sense of fun. Among the 12 finalists for the Nonfiction Award this year, there are really a number of books defending our environment from different perspectives and approaches. That says so much about what's haunting our planet and the younger generation. And there are books exploring America's racial relations now and then. A book about our intellectual past. Books about our society's vibrant ethnic diversity and unique personal stories of triumph. And a book reminding us of the devastating anti-queer agenda in our society. And the winner of the second Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction for a Better World is Accountable by Dashka Slater, published by Farrar Straus and Giroux. Hats off to Dashka Slater on her astounding success. Let's hear a few words from Dashka herself.
I want to thank the judges, SCBWI's Impact and Legacy Fund, and Russell Freedman's family and estate for this incredible honor. For me, the Russell Freedman Award for Nonfiction for a Better World is about three things: information, connection, and conversation. Let me explain. When I first heard about the racist Instagram account at Albany High School that would eventually become the subject of my book, Accountable, it was incomprehensible to me. How could something so offensive and cruel have happened in this day and age? But as I began to investigate, I discovered that what happened in Albany, California, is happening everywhere, in every region of the country, urban, rural, red, or blue. Between 2018 and 2022, the number of reported hate crimes in schools and colleges nearly doubled, outpacing the rise in hate crimes nationally. Extremism researcher James Hawley has found that 3 in 4 Americans aged 15 to 25 have run into far-right and hate-fueled content online, mostly by accident. Much of it is disguised as humor, designed to appeal to the transgressive impulses of adolescent boys who then imitate it in their own social media feeds. As a result, Black kids now experience an average of 5 discriminatory experiences per day, many of those online. The harm that these posts cause cannot be overstated. When researching Accountable, I witnessed the deep and lasting pain felt by Black and other students of color. Depression, anxiety, a complete and total disengagement from school, an inability to concentrate, a loss of trust, a loss of joy, a loss of innocence. The impacts were felt in every aspect of their lives for years. The question is, what should be done? My prescription: information, connection, conversation. In my work, I endeavor to do the first 2 things: provide accurate information and compelling stories that inspire connection so that young people are engaged both emotionally and intellectually. The conversations happen after the book is finished, when young people begin to read what I've written. The first conversations happen inside their own skulls as they mull over the story and the characters and the issues. And then, if all goes well, they bring those conversations into the world, talking with their friends, their parents, their teachers about what they've read. If I'm really lucky, they will do that in a classroom with a teacher who has the skills to facilitate meaningful conversations about race, gender, and justice. I am thus particularly excited that this award comes with $500 for purchasing books for schools. This morning, I spoke with students in a Title I school in New York City who had read the book, and their questions were both challenging and inspiring. "Who did you write this book for?" one of them asked. My answer was simple. I wrote it for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dashka, and congratulations. The final winner of our book raffle. Oh, you know what, Federico, you were supposed to announce it. All right.
That's fine if you want to.
No, I want you to.
Okay. So the winner of a copy of Dashka's wonderful book, Accountable, is Aliyah Khaled.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Aliyah. And Federico, thank you and Anna for serving as judges, and thank you for being here to present the award. It's a pleasure to see you. So now we are going into our closing segment because we want to leave you with great hope. So we selected a great hope to close out our program. Her name is Hope Anita Smith. Hope is a poet and a children's book author. Her novel, Keeping the Night Watch, was awarded a Coretta Scott King Honor Book. And her latest picture book, My Daddy Rules the World, is a celebration of poems about dads. She is the poet laureate of El Segundo, a city here in California. And she has always been an inspiration to me throughout our years working together in SCBWI. So I would like to bring Hope on to give you a closing benediction. Everyone, Hope Anita Smith.
Hello, everyone. So this is a piece I'd like to share with you. It was the middle of the day, and like a star falling, a bird fell right out of the sky. It was like it had stood on the rim of heaven and leaned forward, like my Uncle Jerome did on the Basin Bridge over on C Street. My teacher says, dreams are the wings that help you soar. Uncle Jerome didn't have no dreams, so when he fell, couldn't nobody save him. The bird couldn't fly. Something was wrong with its wings, and I could tell he was trying to figure it out, trying to will himself up into the sky. It's hard not being able to do the thing you know you were born to do. That's what Daddy said when he lost his job. It's like having your wings clipped clean off. I didn't have no job, but the moment I picked up that bird, I knew I was going to be a doctor. Not sure for people or animals, they all got hurt in them. Nobody and nothing gets spared that. It looked at me, his eyes the only thing on him holding steady. The rest of him was trembling. I wrapped him up in one of Granddaddy's handkerchiefs, held him close, let him hear the beat of the goodness in my heart. Kenny and Marguerite were with me. Kenny said a prayer, and Marguerite sang, "Peace, be still," like peace was that bird's name, and Marguerite had just given it a heavenly command. It stopped shaking, like he knew he was safe. I gently ran my fingers along his wings to see if I could tell what or where he was broken. Wouldn't it be something if everybody did that? Not just to birds, but to people too. I also checked to see if he had any burns. Maybe, like Icarus, he had flown too close to the sun. Yeah, I know who he is. Mama said that's what happened to her when she tried to go to nursing school. She was flapping towards a medical degree, but the sun was too hot and she got knocked back down to a job at the A&P. Marguerite sang a healing round of "It Is Well With My Soul," and then I felt the restless in his spirit, his wings pushing against my hands, trying to break free. Could feel him wanting to go explore the world. I had that same feeling. He looked at us, and I saw gratitude in those small round eyes, a thank you to me and Kenny and Marguerite. I opened my hands. He took a moment to set himself right, plant his feet firmly, and then push off against my hand, lift off like a rocket. I tilted my head back and watched him reaching for every good thing in life, each flap of his wings, an invitation, inviting me to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope, who leaves us with great words of hope and inspiration and visions of soaring. So this brings our program to its conclusion. And I want to thank everybody in the audience for watching, for tuning in. I hope that this leaves you full of inspiration to go do your very best work and to speak out for what matters to you most. I want to thank all of our presenters. I especially want to thank the young people who are leading us into the future with such grace and intelligence. And I encourage you to do two things. One is to purchase the books that you saw here tonight to support those authors and illustrators and publishers who are doing this good work. And if you are moved, the Impact and Legacy Fund is supported in part by the SCBWI, but primarily by grants from individuals, both large and small. So if you are moved by what we've done and you would like to make a donation, either in your name or to honor someone else, that information will be up on the screen after, or if you forget that, you can just go to scbwi.org. One final note is all of the programs for the Impact and Legacy Fund are available to everyone in the children's book community. This is something sponsored by the SCBWI, but not with the purpose of promoting the SCBWI. This is our gift to the children's book world. So if you are moved by any of this, if you want to participate in any of our programs, no membership is required. And we hope that you will take advantage of these programs and help to support these wonderful books and these wonderful programs. It is a great pleasure and honor for me personally to be able to be involved with the Impact and Legacy Fund. And I thank our steering committee, I thank our supporters, and I thank all of you for being with us with open hearts and with your dictionaries open and your palettes open and your computers open to do your very best work to make this world a better place for the coming generation of kids. So thank you all and bless you all, and may peace be with us all. Thank you.